A lot of people talk about precision agriculture, but not many people do it or know how to do it. I am quoting our next keynote speaker, Jacob van den Borne. Please come to the podium. Thank you so much. Good morning.
So, good morning, everybody. Firstly, I'd like to thank you for inviting me in this Congress. I'd like to talk to you about precision farming and how we apply that on our farm. I usually start my presentation with this picture, and this is something that most people don't expect from me. Probably they expect drones, robots, and stuff like that, sensors, satellites. And still, I'm going to start with this picture, the picture of my dirty hands. And why? A lot of people come to me selling me products, precision farming technology, precision farming products, and tell me, if you buy this, I will guarantee you a better yield and a higher quality. Please forget that. Won't happen. All that technology, all those machines are only helping you to become a better farmer. And what do you need to be a good farmer? Experience, dirty hands. So that's my first slide. Secondly, I want to introduce myself. I'm Jacob van den Borne. I'm 38 years old. I'm married. I've got two children. And together with my brother, the left guy, I run a family farm. I'm third generation farmer, and we run a farm very close to the Belgian border in the Netherlands, between Eindhoven, Tilburg, and Antwerpen. We run a farm mainly producing potatoes. We produce between 400 and 500 hectares of potatoes, depending on the available land. But we also produce sugar beets, we produce barley, corn, and a few smaller crops. And we do that in a region where we only have very small fields. So every year we grow over 180 different fields of potatoes, 180 different locations, with an average field size of 3 hectares and an average of 6 corner points. So not nice and square. And that was actually the reason why we started investigating precision something. And as you can see in the slide, I mentioned we do precision farming from 2006, and precision technology since 2006, and precision farming since 2009. But of course, the question then is, what is precision farming? And everybody talks about precision farming, and if you Google this, you will find over 100 explanations, but they are quite hard to explain. So I made an easy one. In my opinion, precision farming is on the right moment, on the right place, doing the right thing. As easy as that. So if anybody talks about precision farming, just think, do I have a multiple time in that application? Are there multiple locations in that application? And does it have an application on, off, or more or less? Good. If this is the definition, the second question then is, how old do you think precision farming is? 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 100 years? I got all kinds of reaction on this question. But the only right answer is actually as old as farming is. And to prove that, I brought my agenda from my grandfather. This is the Belgium Farmer's Guide from 1959. And my grandfather, he wrote it down, everything he did, every single evening after his meal. Who is still doing that? Not a lot of hands. So the question is, why did he do that? Why did my grandfather write down what he did every single evening after lunch? And to answer that question, I skipped forward in my presentation because everybody knows if you do precision farming, you gather a lot of data, and you have to try to process that. Maybe you need big data, you need deep learning, artificial intelligence, all kind of that stuff to manage that data. But my grandfather was already doing that 70 years ago. When he saw something on the field that he didn't like, and he wrote it down, what he saw that evening after his meal, what do you think he did? He took his little agenda and turned the pages back to search for an explanation of what he saw. He wanted to learn from his mistakes. So how many people are actually doing that data analytic every evening? Even less, because if you don't write something down that you did, you cannot analyze that. So data analytics is not a new thing. Probably he did a better job than we're doing right now, these days. So in the last 12 years, we developed a cropping cycle, or actually a system where we integrated technologies from in the season of my crop. So you can see that we got winter, we got spring, we got summer, we got autumn. I can explain every single one, but then I'm out of time, so I picked just a few important ones. The first one is actually also the most important one, is actually mapping the fields. So if you run over 180 locations, the biggest issue is to find them and to send your staff, your people, to the right location doing the right thing. And then everybody thinks, yeah, but a farmer knows his fields. But a farmer also rents fields. Potatoes are only grown 1 in 4 years, so we have a lot of variation in fields. We only come back to the same field every 4th year. And then it is a challenge to find them and to be able to send your people on the right field. So what we did was actually build a software or an application, a smartphone application, where all the fields are. And we also connected that information to internal tractor data. But we still wanting something more, and that something more is that. And we all know what sound that is. And probably you're all wanting to just get a small beep on your phone, because probably somebody texted you or sent you an SMS or whatever. That same sound will be there when you enter a field. And the only thing then, it won't be your girlfriend texting you. No, it will be the small red book. What are you going to do on that field? Crop registration is key. If we want to learn something, we need to registrate. And we can registrate automatically, but it is still not the same. We need to know how the farmer, how my staff was plowing the field, spraying. You need to know what he did and what he saw. The next step is then soil scanning. And this is a technology that's not new. We do soil scanning for more than 2 decades. But we found out that soil scanning is actually a very good method to find out the variation within the field. Our biggest source is, of course, the soil where we grow our crop. And also, the main variation in our crop is due to the soil. If you don't know your soil, you need some method to measure that, and we found a good method to do a soil scan with a conductivity measurement. Soil conductivity is very high related with yield potential. To explain that in an easy way, I always compare the soil conductivity with a battery, a soil battery. The higher the soil conductivity, the higher the yield could be. Could be, because that soil battery needs to be charged right. You can have a very high conductivity due too much water or too much salts, and it won't grow. So you also need a probing technology, and that's in the front of the tractor, to check how that battery is charged. So when we do soil scanning, we can predict the yield potential, and with that data we go on in our season. So the next step is then calculating tram lines, and everybody thinks that's easy. Just take the right side of the field, the longest side, and then try to set a GPS point. But if you have fields looking like this, it's another challenge. Or fields looking like this, or a field looking like this, or even fields looking like this. If you have some fields, this is quite hard to find out if you need to plant this in that direction, or still in the same direction, or to cut the field. Software can now calculate how to run the most optimal route over the fields. And this is important because I believe the next step in precision farming is control traffic farming. Good. Next step is then, of course, cultivating the soil. And we do non-till, we do plowing, and we do spading, but with all that technology, we use tractor data to check what happened. And at the right, you can see the fuel consumption of plowing a field. And the red spots are higher fuel consumptions, the green spots are lower fuel consumptions. So with only the data of the tractor, you can already see there is a high variation in this field. All the headlands are compacted and therefore needing more fuel to plow, and also there are 2 wet spots that needing more power to plow. So with good data from tractors, we can find out something about compaction. The next step is then, of course, variable rate planting. So if you know the yield potential of a square meter, you can actually act on that. And we do that in 3 different ways. The first way is doing variable rate planting in the spraying paths, in the tram lines. So we have tram lines through our potato crop, but with that tram lines, we lose a lot of surface. We use 5.5% of our total surface in tram lines. That's a yield loss of 5.5%. But if we look closer, the rows beside the tram line all get more water, more light, and more nutrients, so have a higher yield potential. We plant them closer, and we close the yield gap with 95%. Next step is the same thing, but then in shadow zones. We calculate shadow zones. In the shadow, there is less light, less water, and less nutrients, and therefore we can plant the potatoes farther. Then the last slide, that's if you have a soil scan, you know the yield potential, you can even act on the variation within the field and plant plots where the connectivity is higher, closer, and where the connectivity is lower, less dense, to optimize the yield at the end of the season. Good, next step is then crop protection. A lot of people think that farmers always drive every week. They don't care. Every week we spray the potatoes. We don't. We have over 18 weather stations and a software system that calculates the disease pressure. And with that disease pressure, we only spray our crop when a disease pressure is present. With spraying, we collect data of application and sensor information because we added crop sensors on the spraying boom. And of course, we have the availability of satellite imagery and even drone imagery to get the biomass data, and that biomass data is then very important for the new advice calculation. With this, we can spare in spraying and in chemicals, and therefore the efficiency of our system is way higher than a normal weekly spraying scheme. After that data is also used, the data of the sprayer is also used to actually predict growth or problems in growth. So all the data from the sensors that on the sprayers are collected in a big database and then ranked. So every morning, my grandfather looked in his agenda every evening to find out, to learn. We check our dashboard every morning for which fields are good, which fields are bad, and how to act. And if we have a field that does not feel good or that's not good enough, then we're going to do the same as my grandfather, look for more information. And in our case, the first step to look is, of course, satellite information. The European Union invested a lot in satellite information, and satellites, good satellites, and we can use them to get better information. There's only one problem: clouds. Satellites cannot look through clouds, and 80% of my growing season is clouded. So I've got a 20% chance that we have better information there. When that's not available, then I started my new hobby, flying with drones. And indeed, everybody thinks I'm only flying drones. I opened an own airport, so probably I'm only playing with drones, but that's not true. We only work with drones when the other data sets are not available or not good enough. So if we look at drone application, there is something new there. And that something new is called thermal imaging. So with thermal imager, you can make very nice selfies. You can see that on top. But you can also make thermal maps of your field. And this is a field a month before harvest. And I made a thermal map of it. And this was the result. When we were flying this image, the outside air temperature was 12 degrees. And that's also some parts of the crop were also 12 degrees, but there were also zones with 17 degrees. My question to the public always is, what do you think is good? And a lot of farmers tell me then the yellow should be good. But that's of course not true. Why is that not true? Plants don't have an own energy source, so they have to cool down by evapotranspiration. When there's no water available, then plants get hot, and that's exactly what you can see here. This is water stress. But say irrigation is in order, we don't have water stress, and we still see this picture. Then you can think about something else that you can detect. And what you can detect are, of course, diseases. If you are not feeling like 37 degrees but 40 degrees, I think you need to go to a doctor. Same counts for the plant. So this kind of technology will actually transform precision farming in the future. If we can not only measure the biomass and the nutrient content, but also something about the disease pressure or water stress, we actually have a next level in data. So at the end, we of course use all that data for precision spraying. We use variable spraying technologies with a machine that we specially built. This is a sprayer with not one tank but 2 tanks that can spray on a spot spraying system, so it can do one application and on top of that a separate application, but only on the places where it's needed. So that technology is moving very fast. We also see sprayers that have camera mounted that can detect weeds and stuff like that. So in the beginning I told you when you do a soil scan you can predict the yield potential. This is a soil scan. The red zones are low, have a low conductivity. The blue zones have a high conductivity. And if we lay over the yield map, you can clearly see that that's the same map. The biggest question for you guys is, how do you think this map will look like in 30 years? When we don't run tractors but only own robots, when we have small robots changing the local climate, how do you think this map will look like? And a lot of farmers then tell me, all green. But that's where they're wrong. That's not how to farm with potential. The yellow spot over here only produced 20 or 30 tons because it only had a rootable area of 20 centimeters. And the green spot over there produced over 60 tons because it had a rootable area of more than 40 centimeters. I always ask people, what do you think is cheaper? To make a small battery bigger or to charge a big battery right? The last one is the right question. So at the end, I closed the circle. We improved our farm with all kinds of technologies, but mainly we get more questions. So I don't think I will ever be done with precision farming. As my father and my grandfather learned from their mistakes, I will learn from mine. So we also started a practical center for precision farming. We are the head runner in precision farming, but we see actually that we bump into the head runner problem. We've proven that it worked, but if it's not adopted, we are not going to improve further. And that's why we started the Practical Center for Precision Farming. This is a center where we train farmers to get started in precision farming, but also invite people, suppliers, to do tests of their machines, of their products, but then on my way. So we first do a soil scan, and we pick places that have the same conductivity. After that, we're going to do scans with drones, scans with sensors. At the end, we do, of course, yield mapping, and then pictures like this will be the end result. And I can tell you, the guy that did the test with me here, that has the middle stripe, the middle plot, was very satisfied because he proven that his product had a higher yield than the average and even a higher yield than his biggest competitor. And what I want to do with this, I hope that this supplier of a fertilizer will use this data to go to farmers to show that his products work. Not showing them 300 pages of statistics and a PowerPoint showing them my product is the best. No, showing actual yield data to prove their product is the best. Then every farmer starts to get known with maps and yield maps and also thinking about potentials. Good, we don't work alone. We work with everybody that wants to work with us. And this sheet is always too small. There are always people not on here which we work together. But our main innovator is working with schools, universities, with students that help us to get to all the new ideas and new innovations. The last slide is also a nice one. I thought I needed to spray a grass field. I need to kill a grass field before planting potatoes. Nowadays, that's not a nice picture anymore with the Roundup question. But 4 years ago, it was. And I thought, I'm not going to spray everywhere. This is my logo. It's more than 1 kilometer in length and 900 meters in height, and viewable from space. Nice question, nice remark here. I'm under airport Eindhoven, so I got this picture back from some pilots out of the airplane. But I also received this picture from a lot of government institutions. Not a lot of farmers know this, but every year, all of Europe is being photographed, and this logo was also in that photogrammetry. And a lot of guys then were emailing me with this picture from, did you know? And I answered that email, no, why do you think so? So hopefully you enjoyed my presentation. It was a very short one. If you have some extra questions, please do.
You are a bold man making jokes about Roundup. Hashtag too soon. All right, where are the questions in the room? Microphones, make yourself very, very, very noticeable. Hands, put your hands up so that we can see them. Great, please stand up if you're not already standing up.
I'm standing.
Also, we have some hands down here. Hands, keep your hands up until a microphone is in them. All right, one over here. Coming down here. You can throw them because they're throwable mics. You're being very gentle with them. Throw the mic over there. So, stand up. There you go. All right. What possibly could go wrong? And great. First question, red microphone. Hello.
Okay, thank you. Bronja Szczesnek from Eurofins, Germany. Thank you for a presentation, very impressive. And I have, let's say, 2 questions because you have implemented all these techniques and precision farming for many, many years. And I was wondering now, how is the return of invest? Because it probably costs a lot of money, a lot of time. And is it now that the yield increased? Or you have to work less because you know where to drive, when to drive to the field? How it is working right now?
So the first thing, return on investment is quite clear. I work together with my brother and he's quite strict. I can't buy new toys if the old ones are not paid off. So I always have to prove that we paid off the technologies. The first technologies, of course, pay off quite quickly. If you can reduce your overlap, then you can really make money. We had a 13% overlap in all the things that we did. We reduced that to just 1. So the main costs, the RTK, the section control, the most expensive technologies were paid back in 3 years. And after that, we thought, now we actually reduced costs by cutting the overlap, but is there nothing more? And then we started investing in drones, in satellites, in sensors and stuff like that. And also those technologies were paid back quite fast because we had a problem with all of them by saving products or by reducing fertilizer, reducing water. We could quite easily make profit on that. Probably also because of my farm. We've got small fields. We use a lot. We were working with manure, so we don't know the fertilization level. So when you start quite bad, you can improve quite fast. And that's something that we did. So in that case, yes, we can pay off that technology very fast. And of course, we have technology that didn't work. And that's also one role of head runner. 50% of the technology doesn't work.
Hello. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Laura from Bear. And I just wondered, how are you using this technology to protect the environment around your farm?
That's a very good question, and also a very nice one, because if we reduce chemicals, if we reduce cost, if we cut cost, we always are doing something better for the environment. If I use less, it's better for the environment, for everything that we do. So what's good for my wallet is always good for the environment, and that's the nice thing to being an innovative farmer. We always can show that we can do an even better job. If you look at technologies to be better for the environment, there are coming quite nice technologies to even improve that, and that's mainly of the reduction of runoff, reduction of chemicals. We have a phytobug. We use a lot of those technologies to be non-polluting for our environment. But we're also investing. If you look at the yield maps, we found out there are spots not yielding at all, the shadow zones or wet spots, and we take them out of our cropping scheme and build flowering stripes and stuff like that. So I believe on our farm we have over 7 hectares of just flowering stripes on positions that have a low yield potential. So in that case, it is a double win.
All right, let's do speed questions. You've got a microphone, yes. Stand up, great.
So
if you have the other microphones, put your hands up, because I want the microphones to be in people's hands right now, so we make the most of our time. Okay, anybody else? Any more questions? All right, one over here, great. All right, fantastic. Now I know we've got 3 questions. Hello, good morning.
Okay, Nico Verholte from Eastman. So can you talk about the property of the data? So data are collected by satellites. Do you own these data? Do you need to share them with insurance companies or not? Do they have access to it? You talk also about that every 4 years you come back to, you need to rent some other land. Do you have access to view this land, to select your quality of, and from other farmers, for instance? Do you have access to that? Can you tell something about it?
Yeah, data ownership is, of course, a big thing if you talk about precision farming. I'm quite strict about that. Everything that we invest, we own. So satellites, we didn't invest ourselves. So we can never own that satellite information, but the added value to satellite information, if I make task maps out of that, or if I do a ranking, as I showed you guys, that's our property. Of course, if you have all that data, you could also work around your region, pick only the good fields, but that's really a very big challenge. We struggle hiring land, so if we even going to add extra information about that, I think my area will increase instead of decrease. So yeah, data ownership is quite important. I believe that the guys that invest in it or own the land, own the crop, are also the data owners. It has to be a business model for the farmers, otherwise it won't work. Farmers are always afraid that their data is being used against them, and that's a pitfall that we don't want in agriculture.
Hello, next question.
Hello, my name is Antoinette Ngube from Botswana, and I have 2 questions for you.
Which is the one that you like the most?
Okay.
Which is the one that will make the audience say, wow, that was such a smart question. That's the one you're going to ask.
Okay, all right. So I wanted to ask you, so basically this form of technology is network reliant. So I just want to understand that what would you recommend for countries that do not have much network or satellites? Where could they start to integrate this technology into their countries?
To start precision farming, it's actually easy. You need to know your potential. And that's actually with everything you do. If you don't know the potential, you don't know where to grow, you don't know how to improve. So first step in precision farming is always yield measurement, or in any case, trying to find out good spots and bad spots, and then translate that knowledge to what you can do about it. And I already told you, if you have bad spots, you can better give them back to Mother Nature and then invest in the good spots. So first step, know your variability, know your potential, and then you can go on.
On the app, Beth Lorsbach asks, have you imported your grandfather's data to compare and be able to mine it with today's analysis tools?
Something that I like to do, but a day has only 24 hours.
Nathan.
Jacob, thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. We have here a room full of crop protection experts. So what is your biggest problem in crop protection they could solve?
There are a couple, but one of the most important is that we need crop protection products in the future. And I know that the crop protection guys itself tried to do the how do you call that? The registration and stuff, but it's quite hard. We lose very good chemicals just for public opinion. And that's quite frustrating me. The other thing is, of course, we also need them to invest in precision agriculture and then more in how can that chemical be used with data to improve the chemical, to improve the power of the chemical itself. And then we talk about lowering the doses. We know what a normal dose has for effect on curing diseases, but we don't know what that effect is if we lower the dose. So that kind of information is quite valuable for a precision farmer like I am. And I know I spoke with most of them. I know them personally, so I always tell them, please do some research in lowering doses or in increasing dosage when the biomass is bigger or when the disease pressure is present. But the main frustration is, please let there be chemicals for us to grow our crops. Without, we cannot do it.
Hello, Alan.
Hello. I wonder whether your grandfather is envious or glad that he didn't have all your equipment. But my serious question is, are you able to quantify how's the use of crop protection chemicals changed for you over the years you've been doing precision farming? Is this an opportunity to use more or are you using less? Can you quantify it in expenditure or quantities?
In generally, but it's your starting point. If you start bad, you can always improve a lot. Don't say that we started bad. So if we compare to a general spraying scheme, we do 1 till 1.5 spraying less. But then if the season is very aggressive, if we have a lot of late blight, then I probably spray more than the normal scheme. So it's always what kind of season do we have? If there is a very hot season like last year, I'm quite doing good. I'm not spraying that much. But in the 2016, we used way more than the average spraying scheme. But my potatoes were still out of late blight and the other ones weren't. So it's always, there's always a discussion about usage of chemicals. I think we need the data to prove that we need to spray. So if the data becomes the license to spray, then I think we can go on into the future. But if it's just legislation saying you cannot go over this or you cannot use over that, I think we won't feed the world in the future.
Jacob, I love the pride with which you said, my potatoes didn't have any blight.
That's farmers proud, huh?
Next question. Please stand up, sir. Yeah. You have the microphone. You can stand up. Yeah, are you going to use it?
I have here, yes.
Yeah.
In my opinion, precision farming, it must be give in the yield and the quality and the safety for the end product of the yield. I am asking you about quality of your farming yield and the safety and what is and how you measure it.
So, of course, my biggest challenge is quantity. Yeah? I've been paid by the kilo, not by quality. Yeah? My factory, the French fry factory, has a lower limit that I need to do. There is no higher limit. I'm also not paid to do better. There are small fees for better, longer potatoes or a better size, but they're not really encouraging healthier or whatever. So, but what we saw with that technology, I can even prove that my potatoes are healthier. The only thing that I cannot do yet is make my own taste of that. So when I could add a flavor, a precision farming flavor to my potatoes, I think I will be the new area of farming. But that won't happen, but I think with the data, food security is of course no question. If you collect all the data, you can have full traceability. Only question then is if traceability is something people want to pay for. I think traceability is something that people think that's the standard. So if you try to hype traceability, I think that won't help customers. That won't help the end the consumer. So in that case, I hope that the data that we produce will be actually the proof of my experience, of my craftsmanship. I think that's what people are willing to pay for.
Lu Jun, this is going to be the last one for now. We have a coffee break, so I predict that you are going to be surrounded by more questions, and question number 2 certainly from over there. Lu Jun, do you use any mobile apps for precision farming?
A lot.
Are you allowed to tell?
Of course.
Right.
There are. I saw in the rooms outside also some apps that we use, the Xavio app, but there are a lot of apps that are quite handy to determine which wheat that you have, to determine which disease that you have. But my main app usage is, of course, for registration, what I showed you guys. We don't have the red book anymore. That's out-fashioned. But we need a method to do data registration, and I think apps will be perfectly good for that.
So we have some parallel sessions coming up in about 30 minutes. One of them is how to be a better science communicator. You've obviously got that down. You're welcome to come to the session. I have to tell you that it's not in this space. It's actually in the Gislane 2 space. And if you're not sure where that is, you just ask downstairs at registration. But how have you become such a great communicator of precision farming?
I really wasn't a good communicator, but I needed to step up if I want to improve. That's my role. I have all the technologies that you could use. I have used that on the farm, but I see opportunities. I want the sensor point, not the 1.1 sensor, but the 3.2 sensor. And I know, and also the guys that built the sensor know how to make that. But they say, yeah, but first we need to sell the 1.1 version, otherwise we cannot invest in the newer one. So somebody needs to tell the story. Somebody needs to convince farmers to start using precision farming. And that's a role that I took.
So the Biosciences Engineering faculty have made chocolates for you that are actually precision farming flavor.
That would be good. Thank you.
You can't do it, but they certainly can. Jakob, thank you.
Thank you.
Take a seat.